Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Riffhard podcast. My guest today is one of my favorite people in the music game, Mr. Andy Thomas from the band Rivers of Nihil, who, by the way, have a brand new album coming out May 30th, 2025, self-titled, and it is a killer record. I actually did listen to it several times and can confirm. My band just got off tour with Rivers, and it was awesome to hang out with them for a month. They are on their game, and the most impressive thing about them, besides just being sick, is how they pull off 3-part vocal harmonies on top of music that's already difficult. Like, it's just a great sounding band, and lots of times when bands in this genre try to do vocal harmonies, let's just say it doesn't go great, and that's why they use tracks a lot. But Rivers are actually doing it for real and actually playing this stuff for real and like pulling it off Queen style, where like, you know, you've got the drummer singing harmonies, and it's a very impressive thing. And you know, we've had Brody on a lot, who is one of my favorite guitar players in the game. It was time to bring Andy on, who is fucking great and a fantastic vocalist and a great dude. So here goes. Andy Thomas from Rivers of Nihil. Welcome to the Riffhard podcast.
Hey, thanks, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
So for people in the future, you know, if you're watching this or listening to this years from now, the date is April 15th, 2025. Yeah. And we just got back from a European tour together. It was Rivers of Nihil, Cynic, Beyond Creation, and Doth. So we have just spent a month living together on a bus. And so it's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, man. How are you adjusting to being home?
It took me like a week to where I was still in like that adrenaline mode. You know what I mean? Like when's it's time to load, or should I be warming up? Like, you know, random adrenaline spikes. Now I'm just in the my life's pointless stage, which means that by tomorrow I'll be like motivated to do something.
Yeah, I actually I like 3 days after I got home, I fell asleep on the couch, and my wife was at work, and she texted me, "I'm on my way home," and I thought I was in Europe. I thought I was on the bus. So I fell back asleep on the couch, and when she got home, she scared the shit out of me, man. Because I was like, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "What do you mean?" Like, "I'm in Europe." "No, you're not." So it took me
yeah, that happened a few times. It's, you know, the movement of the bus is really soothing for me. Like, it's really easy for me to fall asleep most of the time when I'm not getting
not with the driver we had.
I was about to say, except for when I'm getting thrown out of the bunk, or like bounced against the ceiling. It's actually really easy for me to sleep with like noise and vibration. So coming home to silence is actually the harder part.
It's wild. It took me a minute. I'm good now, but definitely there was an adjustment period for sure. And I mean, we did, I don't know what you guys stayed in Germany or Austria for a minute?
Well, only for like 2 days.
Yeah. Well, we flew straight home after that show, and it was a 24-hour, like we had like hour layovers. I did like Germany to Phoenix straight through. It was awful.
Damn, I'm sorry. It wasn't like that for us. We just, you know how like when you plan for a tour, there's like an amount of over planning you can do. There's also under planning you can do. And so like, I wanted to make sure we didn't under plan. So I over planned, and the over planning was the logistics of how to get from the tour to the airport and make sure that everybody went to the right places, because, you know, we had fill-in drummer, Sebastian Lanzer, shout out, who lived in Austria.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Rafael Trujillo, who lives in Vienna. Our last show was in Germany, and then Sean, David, and I flying out of Munich with rented vehicles to leave the tour. So I made one plan that didn't end up being at all what ended up happening. So we just had
never does.
No. So we just had an extra day to basically be losers. But I got
probably helped.
Yes, no, it did. So at the very beginning of the tour, and I appreciate this because I probably wouldn't have. It would have taken me longer to do it, but I think on like day 1 or 2, you just totally broke the social anxiety.
And
that
was day 1.
Was it day 1? Yeah, you came into my. Okay, you came into my bubble immediately.
Yeah.
To talk about EverTune. Yeah, which I really appreciated. Because I'm not the best about just going up to people right away. It takes more like a cat. It takes me longer. Like some people, it'll be a few weeks into the tour before I talk to them, and then I'm like, damn, why didn't I talk to them earlier? Yeah. So I appreciate you coming up to me.
Yeah, man.
And it was you're right. That was day 1. It was to talk about EverTune, and I feel like that's a great topic to start with because we're both advocates. All right. Before we get back to this episode, I want to take a minute to talk about Riffhard. Riffhard.com, not the Riffhard podcast, because this podcast is actually tied to our online school, Riffhard. And if you're new here, it's the world's best online school for modern metal guitarists. You know, we've got hundreds of lessons from guitar players such as Javier Reyes, Jason Richardson, Wes Hawk, Dan Sugarman, Miles Dimitri Baker. Man, I could just keep on going on. Aaron Marshall from Intervals, Mike Stringer of Spirit Box. I'm reading now because I don't want to leave anybody off. Dean Lamb of Arcspire. It just goes on and on. It's like all the best of the best. And you get tons more than just lessons with them. You get instant access when you join, but there's also all kinds of challenges. Like once a month, we do something like 10-day down picking challenge or a 10-day tremolo picking challenge or a 10-day alternate picking challenge where we really guide you through the lessons and make sure that everybody is getting better. We're not just giving you these videos and sending you out into the wilderness to fend for yourself. We are right there with you. We also do 6 songwriting challenges. Like we have a monthly one called King of the Riff where we give you a brief, like write a Spartan war anthem or write a technical death metal song with like some criteria. And there's prizes that include guitars and cables and all kinds of cool gear. And we also have private Facebook and Discord communities of like mind and supportive people, no assholes. That's really, really important to include. Now, with Riffhard, you also get a subscription to Nail the Mix. They live under the same site. So in Nail the Mix, you get to learn how to mix metal. You also get access to Buster Otoholm's Beginner's Guide to Recording Metal. So if you're just playing guitar and trying to record yourself, you have a band and you want to make demos for your band members, or you want to make your own demos, but you just can't get them to sound anything but garbage, or you just can't get past the starting gate, it's too complicated, we've got you covered. Buster Otoholm will show you how to do it. And also, if you want to take it further and actually learn how to mix, there's no place better than Nail the Mix over at URM Academy, and that's all included with Riffhard subscription. All right, so if that sounds interesting, you want to check it out, go to riffhard.com. I'll see you there, and let's get back into this episode.
Yeah, I got my first. That's what I came up to talk to you about. Is I got my first EverTune guitar on the tour. Like the first. Actually, that's not true. I had an EverTune guitar briefly, way back, probably 2017, but I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to use it, and as an extension of that, I hated it, and I was like, oh, this sucks. I don't know. But then I got another one for this tour. And you showed me how to use it, and that was in Manchester. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And it's awesome. I mean, first of like the bass line stuff is like, I never have to tune my guitar. That's crazy. You know, it's like the only time you tune your guitar, I mean, I don't even I just change the strings and then that's it. And I don't even check it before I go on stage, which is probably stupid, but I'm not the smartest guy. But it's crazy how well that works, you know? And then you get the benefits, you know, I'm sure the studio benefits are very good. I haven't had an EverTune in the studio, but that's probably
just wait.
Yeah, it's probably sick. But like, also like you pointed out to me, having a guitar that in tune all the time. Now, when I play a guitar without an EverTune, it bugs me, because it's like I can.
Yeah.
It's not quite there, even when it's in tune. It's weird.
Man. So like, I feel like our range of what we're looking for when something's in tune is maybe like 15 cents, 20 cents range. So, when I've been recording like bass, for instance, and bass is something that you always need to pitch correct a little bit, just because it's always just a little sharp, and like I can hear it, and it's generally like 15 cents or maybe a little more. And so that's kind of the general range of where I start to notice things, and obviously more than that. But when tuning with an EverTune and recording with an EverTune, this is both a positive and a negative, because your range of your zone of focus becomes like this 2 to 4 cent range of, but you start, since you're focusing on that, it seems like a big deal. And so you can be recording and it can be like 2 or 3 cents off, and you'll be like going crazy and trying to fix that. And EverTunes are amazing, but getting it to actually be like 0 cents off the whole time is kind of impossible. So like you're always going to be like 1 cent off or 2 cents off, and like you can keep on adjusting that, but like you will be focused on that, and you will be going down the rabbit hole, making yourself insane, thinking it's out of tune, and then come back the next day and hear it fresh and be like, this is perfectly in tune. What the fuck is wrong with me? So you start to focus in on micro tuning, but then when you play a non-EverTune guitar, it's like I don't know if you have ever heard an orchestra where they will use period instruments, like instruments from the 1700s.
No, I've never heard that.
Well, I'm sure you've heard a high school orchestra or
I
middle
have
school.
Heard that. Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
So it's like that. It's like that out of tune. That's what playing a fixed bridge guitar feels like to me sometimes. Now it's like, this is so out of tune.
Yeah. And tough. I guess to route the guitar out to put the bridge in, or the bridge is just, it's heavier. So like, I like the way it makes the guitar feel as well. And I like the way the bridge feels from my right hand too. Because certain bridges, I have a Paul Reed Smith and I love it, but it's got this weird, it's got the PRS tremolo bridge. I feel like I can't play it in a weird way. It's like, I don't know where to put my hand. Oh, you got the EverTune on that bad boy.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's the way to go. I don't know. It feels nice to pick on the weight of the guitar. I feel like it adds a little weight. I like that because I like heavier guitars. Because I'm super strong, obviously.
Yeah, dude, you're just like the strongest fucking guy. Like that was the first thing I thought to myself was,
he looks strong.
This dude is strong.
Yeah. Like, no, but I EverTune is cool. And another thing about it is it's just really great when you're singing, because it's like, it just, there's no question
think about that.
Yeah, there's no question. And I had heard actually, I had heard Devin Townsend talk about that. And that's what initially made me consider it, because it's like, well, that guy's the best, and he's talking about the benefits of EverTune for your vocals, and he's right. It's like you're singing, obviously there's a, when everything's in tune, everything it's like this clicking sensation in your head, I don't know, for me, and you get that with an EverTune. Like
the puzzle pieces fitting together.
Yeah. I think that's what
you guys are hitting like 3-part harmonies in like extreme metal, and so that's already tough to. There's a lot going. I know you have in-ears, but there's a lot going on. So I'm sure having that, knowing that what you're hearing is perfectly in tune has got to be like an anchor.
It's definitely big, yeah, because that the harmony stuff can really go sideways if you're not careful. You know, because Jared's doing that stuff while he's playing drums too, so it's like that freaks me out.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like the drums are so loud too, and he's got to, yeah, it's definitely tough. But the EverTune, yeah, I don't think I'll ever go back.
You know what else? I think that to some degree, it's kind of like drums. You can definitely overplay, but there's something to be said for playing harder sounds better most of the time. At least it like not 100% of the time. There's places where being delicate makes a difference. There's genres, etc., where it makes a difference. But like, let's just say 85% of the time, playing harder sounds better. There's a point where it's too hard for sure. But
yes, and especially with drums there.
Yeah,
for drums, you can play too hard, but you should play real hard.
I've recorded drummers where Mark Castillo, the dude from Bury Your Dead and several other bands, he hit so hard when I recorded him that he snapped a cymbal stand in half.
What? Wow.
Like, yeah, we were recording and I heard this loud, like, just explosion coming from the drum room. I was like, what the fuck? Did he just like have a heart attack and like fall into the drums? I go in there and the fucking crash stand is literally just like, it's like he took a saw and like just like sheared it off. So
yeah,
but on guitar, like on a fixed bridge, the harder you play, the more out of tune you're gonna go. Correct. And
especially with lower tunings.
Yeah, like it's a quick way to sound like shit. But like EverTune, you can play hard and you're gonna stay in tune, and so you can get that. People say that there's like an EverTune tone tax, but I actually think that because you can play a lot harder, you can actually sound a lot better. You just got to make sure that the strings are new. The way to overcome the EverTune tone tax is new strings and play harder.
Well, yeah. I mean, I definitely like Buster from Humanity's Last Breath. He'll do like a whole tour with that EverTune and not change his strings, and it's just like, well, I mean, but he sounds great no matter what. But it's definitely like, dude, just why don't you change your strings? Yeah, that is for sure. If there is a tone tax, whatever, I haven't really noticed it. I've only done one tour. I'm also, I don't know. I think it's great. I really back the EverTune.
One thing about strings, when on this last tour, there were a few guitar players who never changed strings because they were using coated strings, which I've never used.
Oh yeah.
So I guess I take back what I said because I'm unfamiliar with how those even sound.
Who was using coated strings on that tour?
What the hell? I mean, Paul was.
Oh, Paul. Cynic
Paul someone in Beyond Creation also.
Was Simon using? Yeah, maybe. Yes. Yeah.
And I think Gilbert was too. I think. I'm forgetting. I found this all out the last day.
I mean, that's probably. So they didn't change your. Wow. I mean, I've never used coated strings. Maybe I should check them out.
I don't know. Maybe Buster's using those, but then also Buster.
I don't think so.
I'm very familiar with how Buster builds his tones.
Yeah.
Actually, by the time this comes out, how it's done with Buster Odeholm is on sale, so you should all buy it if you want to know how Buster does it. But so basically, we went to the studio with Buster and created a course where he wrote a Humanity's Last Breath song in real time and produced it, mixed it. So start to finish, I know exactly how he works, and the way he builds guitar tones is not the rules are out the window compared to what I think the way that we would think about guitar. He doesn't think about it like a guitar player.
No.
It's kind of wild.
It's interesting. Buster's interesting. It's like everything that he does, from tuning to the way he plays to the sounds he gets, everything is tailored to just making that music.
Yes.
So it's like it's a language that he speaks, and it's entirely his own. And it's not like you're not, there's no like, I have to play a solo here, I better play this pentatonic lick or whatever, he's just doing exactly what he needs to do to make that music. And I think that's interesting, even down to like the design of his guitar. It's tailored to that. And I think that's cool about Buster. I love Buster. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy, and you're absolutely right. Like, he doesn't view guitar the way like a guitar player does. He views it like kind of like a sound design tool almost.
Yep.
Like
That's exactly what it is.
To make nasty sounds. And in the way, in the way he works, new strings don't matter. But I think that for like more normal guitar players like you and me, like
change your strings.
The styles that we play, both of our bands kind of have a unique thing going on, but we're much closer to like traditional metal than Humanity's Last Breath.
100%.
I think, and we're also not tuned to like double drop E or like anything like that. Like,
no,
I think it makes a difference, and I've noticed it when recording that to get the most out of the EverTune, the newer the strings, the better.
Yes.
And I have noticed a little bit of a tone tax, a little bit, but it's not enough. Like the amount of tone tax is not proportional to the level of hate that people give it online. When I'm talking about something that's like 1%, and the people online talking about it are talking like it's like a 25% of the tone.
And it's not.
So it's not. It's definitely not.
No. And the only downside for me with the EverTune is on the way home, the TSA stole all my in-ears and wireless and tuner and stuff. And I had my EverTune key in that bag. They took that too. So I had to order a new one. And I did notice that because I couldn't change my strings for like a week after I got home from tour. And that was a bummer. But I definitely, changing the strings, you're like, holy shit, okay, we're back.
It started to sound kind of dead and like just kind of weird, right?
Yep. That's a good way to put it. Is it if you just don't change your strings, it does sound dead. Yeah.
Like almost, I don't know, like almost not bit crushed, but like it's like this weird, it's not like, you can't describe it in regular guitar terms because it's producing a tone that's unique to whatever the EverTune did to your guitar.
Correct. Yes.
But it's just
definitely its own
weird
thing. It's its own thing and it rules. And that's where we can leave that.
Yeah, I agree. I will say this. I do have a few fixed bridge guitars that I'm keeping specifically for parts where I need to record vibrato.
Right. Okay. And that's fair. But I don't use vibrato. So
well then I mean, I do. I barely use it, but the thing is, people say that you can do it on an EverTune if you just put it in zone 3, but it doesn't. Doesn't sound quite right
for bends and stuff. You have to overbend, and I notice like using in-ears live is very beneficial for that, and I feel like without them, I might have trouble with an EverTune because like. To get like, I do a lot of half step bends when I solo. It's just something I've always done. And, instead of playing a note, I'll play the note a half step below and bend it to that. I do that a lot. I could probably got that from Marty Friedman or something, but I can't play like Marty Friedman. And,
you mean he can't play like you?
Yeah. Marty Friedman wants none of this. If he's out there listening, which he won't be, I got your number, Marty. But, it's a feel thing. It feels like you have to bend further to get that to happen.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But I got used to it. And now when I play, a fixed bridge guitar, I bend too far.
Interesting.
So it's like, I'm immersed in the EverTune and I'm happy with it. It's just, but it is different.
If you've adjusted your bending and vibrato for EverTune, you're kind of locked in.
Yeah, I'm locked in, and I'm happy to be there. I'm happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here, man.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Man, think about the idea, like, so our first rehearsal, like pulled the guitar out of the case and we just started playing. I didn't even tune it, nothing. Yeah. And that's like, I hadn't played that guitar in a week. It had just gone through lots of international travel. Who knows what weather conditions it encountered. Open it up, week later.
Right there, in tune.
Right there, in tune.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's wild, man. Like I said, I don't even, once I change the strings, I just go up on stage. And we have some tuning changes too. We'll go from like a drop tuning to a standard tuning in the middle of the set. And you can do that with an EverTune too. People talk about how you can't do that, but you can. It just, you lose the benefits of the EverTune bridge, I guess, for the one string when you change the tuning.
So how did you do it?
I just tuned, so I put I have the whole guitar in zone 2, but like I guess it's zone 2, and it's like right on the border of zone 3.
Zone 2 is where nothing moves.
Oh, then I have it in zone 3.
Zone 3 is where you can bend.
Yeah, okay, so I have it there, but I just, so we're in drop F sharp, so I have the guitar set up for drop F sharp, and then I can just tune the F sharp up to G sharp and back down, and it's easy because when you tune back down to F sharp, it goes, it engages, and it's just, you can see when you're there.
So you're right. So you're basically right at the border of 2 and 3. Yeah. So the moment you move the tuner peg, like it actually starts affecting it.
Yep.
And
going back down it's very easy.
Yeah, because you just tune back down to zone 2, and then you don't have to worry about being precise with the tuning because you have all that runway.
Right. And we do a lot of like low string bendy stuff, so I have to be mindful that I'm not going too far into zone 2. Because then it's not going to move, but I love it, man. It's great.
But still, and like you don't have to sit there for like 3 minutes, like getting it.
No. And that's what I was worried about too. I was like, but no, totally cool. And like I said, I have you to thank for that, because you showed me how to use the whole damn thing. When I got to Cologne, that's why I was like, he's got an EverTune. I got to go talk to him, because I got there and I was like, I don't know how to use this thing. I got the guitar like the day before we went to Europe. So I have you to thank for that. But yeah, man, I'm on the train.
Dude, explaining to somebody how to use one makes you realize how simple it is. And the thing is, I had a time period where I kind of hated it because I had convinced myself that it was, I don't know why. Like, I do this sometimes. It's really dumb. Like, instead of just like sitting down and learning how to do something, I've convinced myself that it's like too complicated, and which is really stupid because I know I'm not a dumbass, but like, it's like this like mindset where sometimes I'll just like do dumbass things where
I'm the king of that.
So you know how it is. So I just convinced myself EverTune is hard. Like I'm gonna have to like become a luthier or something to like learn how to do this properly. And so it's gonna take me a few weeks to like really figure this out. And so I just kind of like half-ass learned it and did not do a good job. And then one day I just sat down and actually learned how to do it in like 30 minutes and knew how to do it forever, and was like, what the fuck is wrong with me?
That's how I felt.
Easy.
Yeah.
So,
when you showed me how to use it, I was like, what? That's okay.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
It's actually super easy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm that way too. Like my neighbors are 83 and 87, and they called me over yesterday. So we have a package. It's too heavy. We need you to carry it in the house. I go over, and it's this chair, and they're like, I put it in their house, and they're like, we don't have anybody to put the chair together. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. I have to put this chair together this afternoon, and I'm just like, I'm probably going to put it together like inside out or upside down or something. We'll see how it goes, but I feel you on the stupid thing.
But you're probably actually going to do it like in like 30 minutes or something.
Boy, I hope so, because I got to do my taxes today too. I got a lot to do, man. It's the life of a touring musician.
Instead, you're sitting here talking to me.
Oh, I'm glad to be, man. This is cool.
Yeah, I'm glad to be doing this too. So let's switch topics to something that I'm curious about, because you I heard you were the first thing I heard come off the Rivers of Nihil stage. You were playing a Morbid Angel song, or Metallica. You were playing Metallica.
Harvester of Sorrow.
Yeah, Harvester of Sorrow.
Yeah.
And you sounded fucking great.
Thanks.
So I was impressed immediately with just like how good you sounded. And
well, thank you.
I think that's a big deal because guitar players don't just sound good. Like you can take the easiest riff, and I actually don't think Metallica riffs are the easiest riffs, but
no.
Like if you give two guitar players a guitar and tell them to play like some Green Day song, and one of them is a novice and one of them is great, like those three chords are going to sound completely different, and you'll know right away. Like for the first strum, you're going to know what you're dealing with as far as guitar players goes. So heard you play that and I was like, damn, that sounds fucking great. And I was inspired by the tone, and that got me thinking about talking to Brody about how like strange his guitar playing is. And then over the course of the tour, like just being backstage and like watching him warm up, and then like seeing how some of those riffs are played, they're not easy. It's not like super tech, but it's also not easy, and it's not easy to do it sounding good. All this to say, and from conversations we had, Brody's style is strange.
Yes, yes, it is.
It's strange, not like Imperial Triumphant kind of way, where it's like, but there's the way that he phrases things is very unique to Brody. The way he uses upstrokes, like it's just not normal, and you do a great job learning his stuff. And speaking as someone who plays with another guitar player that's really, really, really good, and that's kind of like what I've always had other guitar players that are really good. Learning their stuff is like, it's like you have to get into a certain state of mind to be able to like really do it justice. So I'm wondering, how do you do that with Brody's riffs? Like, how do you what do you have to adjust in your own playing, and how do you make sure that you're doing justice to his riffs?
Well, I can talk a lot about that, actually. First of all, thank you. I know that you can probably relate to this. I'm my own worst critic, so I definitely I rarely get off stage or whatever and feel like, oh, that was good, But you see that with all types of people. You see that with championship fighters and stuff. They're always like, I could have done better. It's like, you won the fight, it's whatever. But Brody's stuff is it's difficult in a way. Like it's the tempo. Like it's like the Gojira thing. Like it's not the most technical stuff, but like you really have to work hard to make it sound good, because it's in this tempo. Like Brody writes a lot of stuff where it's like 16ths from like 120 to 160 riff wise, and it's like you have to play that well. It's like I used to play in bands, where it's like your music's at like 240. You're doing, and it's like you're not actually playing 16th notes at 240. It's it's like I heard somebody in Cannibal Corpse years ago call it tremolo sounding. It's like you're not.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, you're not nailing the 16ths. I'm sure some guys are. I'm not, for the record.
Raphael is.
Yeah, he is, but he's an animal.
Yeah. Yes.
But like, when you're playing 16ths, 120 to 160, you have to nail that.
Yes.
And it took what I've done, because
that's the asshole tempo.
It totally is, and he's really good at it. He's really good at it. And you talked about him. He does a lot of like upstroke work. That's like he'll like upstroke Master of Puppets and stuff, and it's crazy. He does it very. It's really weird. He's really good with his upstroke. But what I've had to do since I joined Rivers 3 years ago, I had to basically my musical work. I used to work on, theory, whatever. that all went out the window. Basically, what I do is I work on Rivers music. That's what I do. So when I pick up a guitar, it is I'm not doing anything but working on that. And it's been that for 3 years. And that's how I've, if you say it sounds good, I appreciate that. And I've put a lot of work into it. And yeah, that's what I've had to do. Is like the musical language that I speak now. And I started writing for Rivers too. So it's like, there's that as well. But my musical language has just become Rivers. And I do a lot of upstroke exercises now too. Yeah, that's the hardest part, is like when I hear because you have your in-ears, I hear Brody and it sounds like especially with like I said, the 16th note parts at like 150, 160. It's like a train. When Brody starts doing it, I'm like, shit, here we go. And it's just like even and right on. And that's been the hard, like when I joined Rivers, I was like, there's a song by them called A Home. Yeah. It's just that for like the whole damn song. And I remember that was in the set because I had 2 weeks to learn 80 minutes of Rivers songs for a headlining tour. Yeah, and I had to play guitar over Wes Hauck and Scott Carstairs. And it was like, this is bad. And I remember
over,
like we were headlining over Fallujah and Alluvial. Yeah.
That sucks.
And it was like, it did suck. And like I said, I had 2 weeks to learn 80 minutes. And I remember trying, like A Home was in the set list. And I remember like texting Brody like maybe a week in and just being like, I don't know if I can join the band, man. And he's like, why? I'm like, A Home. I don't think I can do that. And he's like, no, just you can, and I still think I play that song terribly live, but it is what it is. It's something that's what live, and I talked to Raphael a bit about this on the tour. It's like he told me how live playing got a lot easier for him once he realized, like, man, you're getting one shot at this, and it is actually okay if you mess up. And that's a weird, because like you're gonna mess it up anyway. If you get it in your head, it's whether it's okay that you mess up. I have this thing where it's like, it's not okay if I mess up. If I mess up, I should die, and that's not a healthy way to go about it either. So I took that conversation to heart. It's like, you can mess this up, dude, and you can try again tomorrow. And as long as you don't mess it up terminally. I've definitely messed things up on stage with Rivers. Another thing that happened on that first tour is there's a song called Terrestria 4, and it's got these clean arpeggios at the beginning where it's just the guitar. And I remember being like, Brody, can you play this part? And he's like, no, you're going to play it. And oh man, that first tour, I butchered that a lot because it's just like, you get a 4 count and then it's just you. And you're like, so it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of work, and I will not say that I've done it perfectly, but I've definitely, at this point, to answer your question in a roundabout way, I've just dedicated my life to that music now. That's what I do on guitar. I don't really learn new things. I'm not trying to learn new licks. I'm working on Rivers music, whether it be writing it or whether it be learning it. That's all I do.
That makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like Buster. That's, what he does is what his bands do. Mm-hmm. That's it. He's not sitting there practicing scales.
No, and but I've definitely done that. I spent years doing that, for sure. But then it's like, you get into a situation where you have to play live in the capacity like playing with Rivers, and it's like all that goes out the window anyway. So it's just, and that's another thing about playing live is, you're automatically like 20 to 30% worse at guitar.
It's crazy.
So you have to compensate for that, because it's just like, everything goes out the window. And I really think that's another thing that I work on is like, the feeling when you play, I'm sure you do, you play live and everything goes really fast. And you're just like,
Yep.
Slow. Like I've had this feeling when I play a solo live, it's like, oh God, here it goes. And it's like, you have to just
at the beginning of a tour.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah. It gets better.
As the tour goes on, it then starts to feel slow.
Yes. And I do little things on stage where I try to like time myself, because I remember like when I started touring, my first tour was, this is wild, but my first tour was opening for Behemoth, and I was in an unsigned band, and it was maybe my 20th live show. It was a sold out live show, actually where I live. I didn't live here at the time in Phoenix, but it was opening for Behemoth. And I remember
talk about getting an education,
dude. Yeah. And I just remember being like, these guys take their time on stage. Like nothing feels like they're moving faster. They're under pressure. And I really, that was something where I was like, I got to work on that. So I'll do like, if I have a vocal part coming up, but I have a little bit of instrumental time, I do this thing where I'll like walk in circles on stage if I have room. And I try to just walk in circles right up until my vocal part starts. And I see if I can time that. I just do little shit like that. And it helps me helps me slow down.
You know what? One thing, so on this tour, I think it's the best I've played on stage.
You played great. You guys sounded great.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Also, it's been a long time, right? So I'm only going off of memories from the previous lineup, and the previous lineup had great musicians in it. Yeah. So like, this is not at all like a dig on previous members or anything. This is all me. So with the old lineup, we used to move a lot, and I think that me in my head, I had this idea of like, move as much as you can, like nonstop. And then I'd see bands like Behemoth, who you think are moving a lot, and I'd realize they're not. They're moving strategically, but they're taking their time, and they're being very deliberate with their movements, and they're staying relaxed. And so for this tour, I made a point of keep the focus on the playing and move when it makes sense, but slow down and play the fucking songs. Slowing
down is everything.
Yeah.
And to speak
slow
to
down
your point,
in your head.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly right. And to speak to your point about the moving thing, like we had help on this tour because it was the first time that we brought out light production,
which looked amazing, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, but it was like, it's like, maybe I don't have to headbang the whole time, which, as you can relate as a bald guy, if you're headbanging, you really got to give it hell for it to look like anything. And it's like, having lights was just like, no, I'll just chill, I'll just chill.
Man, if especially you look at like videos, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like with vocals too, like because I in the past it's like, man, I gotta sing now and I'm winded from fucking headbanging, and it's a balance, but the lights help with that too.
It's this weird thing, man, because you get this idea that bands that are really sick live move around the most, and that's sometimes true. Like if you look at the old Suicide Silence videos from like when they first came out, and they've got this synchronized windmills the whole time.
Early Meshuggah.
Yeah, they're also like 18 years old, but like but it's, or like early Slipknot, like that's very specific to the style of music those guys play. If you look at old footage of Opeth, they were never doing backflips or anything like that. No. They were always taking their time. And I watched a bunch of videos recently of a bunch of bands that I think are really good live, and realized like I always thought of Mastodon as like this crazy energy live, and I watched some videos and I was like, they're kind of just standing there being sick. I realized most of these bands that we think are great are not moving that much. Like, they're standing there being sick, playing sick parts, doing some headbanging, some moving, but it's not as the music when you do the music part right, it has so much energy that it seems like there's a lot more physical movement than there actually is, because the music is locked in and the music has the movement. And and they've got confidence and they project it, but they're not actually moving that much. And realizing that helped me get through this tour.
Yeah, man. And that's the confidence thing is wild too, because like I've always had stage fright. I don't know about you, but I still to this day I have stage fright. And there, but like and people tell me, oh, you seem so confident up there, and it's like, man, if you only knew. Like I'm up there going like, oh man, what am I? This is, it's nerve-wracking. So it's all like, it's all these mental games that you're playing with yourself, and yeah, it's a wild thing.
How does your stage fright manifest?
For me, ironically, the first thing that goes when I and I've gotten a lot better at not breathing is crucial to that. But anyway, the first thing that goes for me are 16s from 120 to 160.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the ability to control that well.
Yeah, because that it's like the fine motor skills aspect.
Yes. So the first thing that goes when I really struggle with anxiety on stage is the ability to play Rivers of Nile's music. So it's it's been a struggle, but I'm good now. I do a lot of like.
But I mean, are you in your head before the show? Is it like anxiety leading up to the show? Like when you're on stage, is it like what?
It's generally.
Is it like how you're breathing, or are you thinking about stuff? Like
it's the thinking. It's the inability to be present with the music on stage, and
yes.
that's how that manifests for me as well. Is like I notice that I'm just thinking. I went through a whole set and I just thought the whole time.
Yeah.
And that when I don't do that, which is more and more often now, it's a great feeling. It's just you're experiencing the set rather than thinking about, do I belong here? Whatever.
You gave me a tip. You gave me a tip actually for helping. I don't know if you realized that the tip you gave me, I don't think you were even giving me a tip. You were just telling me something you do. And then I tried that actually to get out of my own head. Like, so I remember one day you told me that you don't just look at the crowd, you will lock eyes with people until they acknowledge you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, that's actually a really good idea, because sometimes I've noticed that if I'm like in that like flight or fright mode like overthinking too much, and I look at the crowd, I won't like make eye contact with people. So I was like, I'm going to do what Andy does. So I'm going to start picking people and just locking eyes until they look back. And
I'll go up to them. I'll go up to a person in the crowd and I'll go, "Hey, what's up?" Like I'll literally talk. I'll talk to them.
I did that too. Too. Yeah. So like I would do that and then move on to the next person and then realize my playing is getting better. I'm feeling better. And then focus on whatever part I'm doing. And then again, when I have a moment where I can do it, pick a couple more people, maybe a little further back, and just doing that actually solved it for me. Because when you're doing that, there's no way you can be you got too much to think about. Like you have to play.
Yep.
How many more things can you be thinking about at the same time? Like you're kind of like maxing out the RAM.
Yeah, and it's like I've never been able to help that, and I think it's just because I'm very I guess I'm extroverted.
Yes, you are extroverted.
Yeah, so like I've seen bands like Behemoth is a prime example. I've seen like them, they will not acknowledge the audience. They do not acknowledge that another thing is happening in the world when they're up there. And that's cool too. But I've never been able to do that. I have this thing where I interact with the audience and I get a lot from that. I'm not sure specifically what it is, but I definitely, like I said, I'll walk up to people and talk to them while I'm playing, and yeah, it does. Like you're right. It helps you get out of your own head. I think. I don't know that that's why I started doing it. I think it's just probably because I can't shut the fuck up.
You are able to talk, but like Yeah, like I said, I don't think you were giving me a tip or anything. You were just telling me what you did. Yeah. But like for me, that actually helped solve. Dude, I've had that problem forever of getting in my own head on stage and then just kind of wanting to like get into a corner and disappear.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing is like to get up there and like just want to get off.
Yeah.
You know, not get off sexually, not get off, but get off the stage.
No, I definitely don't get up and want to get off. I want to disappear.
No, I don't, you know, and you don't get off either because I look at our audiences, man. Jesus Christ.
Oh, man, yeah. Like if anyone has a significant other back home that's worried, there's nothing to be worried about. But but yeah, like the feeling of wanting to disappear. I think some people don't get that.
No, they don't.
But I do. So that's a very, very helpful technique. Like it worked. Like it solved it immediately.
Well, and that's, you know, it's funny. I think it's more common, stage fright and, you know, performance anxiety, whatever you want to call it. It's really common. I read the other day that Peter Steele suffered from that his whole career. And it's like, you watch old Typo Negative.
Believe it.
Yeah, but you watch the old Typo Negative concerts and they're awesome. You know, and it's just like, that guy was stressing out up there. So I think that's another thing for people to understand. It's like, if you do suffer from that, it's normal. And that helps with it too, because then you're just like, it's not going to go away. So what do? You have you develop all these tools to kind of navigate it because it's going to be there.
So I have this theory about being on stage, non-scientific theory that, and I'm saying this, and I don't want anyone to think that I think it's like combat. I know it's not like combat, and nobody's dying. So I'm not trying to. I'm not like saying that we're doing something on par with going into a war zone. However, your nervous system doesn't know that. So your nervous system puts you in fight or flight, and that's kind of that's because you have to do this thing. You have to do this thing in front of people. And for some reason, the human psychology is wired up to where judgment and doing things like public speaking is up there with one of our biggest fears for whatever reason.
Yes.
Like the fear of public humiliation triggers fight or flight responses in people, much the same way that life-threatening situations do too.
Correct.
The reason that I liken it to what someone in a war zone goes through is because they have to use fine motor skills. So they have to go into something where they've got, I mean, the stakes are different because they might actually die. But,
super high.
But so take that out of the equation. They're going into a situation where they're in fight or flight mode. There's loud shit going on all over the place. And they have to do this specific thing that's very technical, that there's only one right way to do it.
Yeah.
Like it's either right or it's wrong. You either got it right or you fucked up.
Yep.
Operate expensive equipment that they have to be trained in how to use, and communicate with the people you went in with and make sure that you're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So they say that when you get into a situation like combat, your fine motor skills, and for them it translates in reaction time or the ability to shoot on target or whatever decreases by a good 30 to 40%.
Yeah, man.
Your baseline and then also your ability to think through things decreases down to like basically the level of instinct. So thus think the same thing goes for on stage, is where when you get like, it's normal to get razzled by the situation.
Yes.
And your motor skills are going to sink down to basically where you're at on a normal day where you're just like not that good.
Which is cruel, man.
But there's ways to think around it.
Yes.
I mean, there's ways to get around it by like figuring things out, like how to get yourself out of your head, like what you showed me to do with eye contact and stuff. So all this to say that like this is a normal phenomenon. athletes also talk about this when they play.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it up. Teams. I'm a UFC guy and a big UFC fan, and like it reminds, we're not fighting again, same thing. I'm not getting my nose broken, but
there's a parallel.
Yeah, well, there's pressure and there's mental games that need to be played, and you have to. It's things that you have to execute in front of a number of people, and yeah, it's high stakes there too. But a lot of the mentality there, I take a lot of influence from those guys too, because it's like I said, I was watching a fight the other night. My favorite fighter, Alexander Volkanovski, he won the title again, and he got done, and they were like, "Are you happy? You're champion again." And he was like, "I don't know. I could have done better." And it's just like, I was like, man, that I can absolutely relate to that feeling.
Yeah, because his perspective on it isn't your perspective on it.
No, and like I said, he's focused on the it's like we would, you come off stage, you're like, I blew that riff or whatever. He's focused on the technical aspects of what he was trying to do. And, it's the feeling of, you did the best you could up there, but you weren't at your best because you're in front of a bunch of people.
And you are trying to win.
Yes.
Not against the other bands, but you're trying to win that audience.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, you're trying to win against the audience. Like, You're trying to basically, at least our position on the tour, with opening, like, you have to, whether or not, I do realize that, like, there were, most of the rooms were pretty full from the moment we started or by our second song.
I'm glad for that too.
Fuck yeah. I'm very glad. So I know that people were happy to see us.
They were.
So it wasn't like the old days where we had to play to a hostile room. So it was definitely not hostile at all. Yeah. But still, if it's 6 o'clock, 6:30,
you got to warm them up.
Yeah, even if you're seeing a band you want to see or have been waiting 10 or 15 years to see, you're still not going to feel the same way as like at 9 p.m. And so our job is to win them by like getting them to feel like it's 9 p.m.
Your job is to make them want to drink more.
Yes, exactly.
Because this is what it's all about. Yeah. Is these crowds need to be drunk, which in Europe you can usually
do it
pretty easy.
The way I judged it was by whether or not the band right after us, Beyond Creation, had a great opening. Like, if we got them ready for like a great night, the audience ready, then we won. We did our job. But
you definitely did your job on that tour. You guys ripped. It was great.
That was so to me that was victory. And so like that was kind of the whole thing, was those were the stakes. Like, if they're not awake by our third song, we're losing.
Right.
And so that was how I was looking at victory. So there is something you're trying to win, and the stakes are more like you do a bad job and also possibly public humiliation.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Yes. Public humiliation is something that even people who have been in life-threatening situations would rather avoid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do little things in my life that, like I recently married. I'm a licensed, whatever you call it, minister. I don't know. I can marry people. And I've married a good friend of mine and his wife. And that was a similar feeling. Doing the ceremony was like
signing. You were like, I'm ruining their lives.
Yeah, well, I was literally like, man, I do not want to fuck this up because it's their wedding.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
And I did good. But like that kind of stuff helps too. Is just the on, because I mean that's, to me that's real pressure. Is like, if I do a bad job at this, they're gonna remember their wedding.
You're ruining their moment.
Yeah, that guy was an idiot and he fucked up our wedding, which I didn't do. I don't think.
You would know.
Yeah, I think I did good.
Yeah. All right. I want to talk about public humiliation. So,
sure.
If you don't mind, if we can talk about this one Rivers of Nihil show, and we can talk about the first show on this tour we just did. Are you cool to talk about the one story you told me about on the Black Dahlia tour?
Which?
With the one where you guys you got hosed by your technology.
Oh, I wasn't on that tour.
Oh, you were on that tour,
that's
so you didn't
Brody's story.
experience
But
it.
I know the story.
Okay,
yeah, it was their first night running their new in-ear rig, and it just
got hosed.
It went haywire, and I think they played like 1 or 2 songs without a click, and it was a sold-out show in Chicago.
Yeah,
and that sounds awful.
It was the first night of the tour. So basically, in the first night of this European tour, and basically this, I want to share this with people because a lot of people are afraid of taking risks when it comes. Like, I know a lot of people are afraid of like moving to digital gear, or they're afraid to automate things, or they're afraid to try things that seem risky because the worst might happen. And the worst, in their opinion, is what if like it crashes on stage, or what if you get hosed? And what I'm here to tell you is that, first of all, that shit happens to everybody at some point, and second of all, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's really not. Like, it sucks, but it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's not fun when it's going down, but like, then it's over. And
and you probably learned something.
Oh yeah, I learned a lot.
Yeah, the Cologne show. Yeah, man.
The Cologne show. So basically, what happened was this tour, first tour in 15 years, was also our first time using all kinds of new technology I'd never used before, like in-ear rig for the whole band. Everything run off of a laptop. Like, this was all new stuff to me. Like, back in the old days, we had wireless systems, but we didn't have in-ears for the whole band run off of an in-ear mixer and like all that stuff. We had a laptop with the drummer, and the drummer would hit play, and then he would get the click track, and then he would
play to him.
We play to him, and we had backing tracks, but like, that's it. The rest of us were on amps. So like, this was all new territory, and I learned it all in a new DAW before the tour. And the first night, the first sound check, the click track was coming through everything. Literally everything. It was coming through front of house. Basically everything was going through everything else, and we ran out of time to fix it. And we decided to call it off before, once we realized it was impossible to fix, we called it. And luckily, we didn't get on stage and get hosed. But it still sucked. We didn't end up playing the show. But the thing is that, like, it didn't like ruin my night or anything like that.
No, you were very gracious with that.
The whole band, I thought, was like, I think the new guys were like looking to me and Sean for how to act, because it was also our first time playing with 3 of the dudes. So we had never experienced that together, and that was our first show together. So I think they were looking to me and Sean for how do we as a unit deal with this kind of stuff. So my thoughts were, well, first of all, we don't freak out. We just take it like shit happens, and then we figure it out and we solve it. But anyway, so the worst happened, right? Like, the thing that people are always afraid of, and it was our first show. Like, what a great way to start.
I felt bad, but you guys handled it like men, for sure. It was great.
I'm sure people felt bad. I didn't want them to feel bad, but like, I was hoping that like we didn't get too much sympathy or whatever. Like, but more than anything,
I cried.
Thank you. I'm okay. But you're sure that was about us, or just because?
No, it was because I was in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good enough reason. But my point just being is that this happens to everybody, and it's not so bad if you don't make it bad.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I have, dude, so many stories of stuff like that. I mean, I've definitely had the old clicks through the PA for an hour, and it's like, what do? What I did in that scenario is I stood there and I told bad jokes. And I'm pretty sure I told a dick joke in front of my mom. But like,
did she find it funny?
Yeah, she's got a good sense of humor, but it definitely was like, I probably, if I had to go back and do it again, I might not tell that joke. But But yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, you know, and that's the other thing is as you embrace the new technology, like when you were talking about that, it reminded me of another point, and that was when I joined Rivers, I had never used in-ears before.
Mm-hmm.
And getting on stage with in-ear monitors, you're like, holy shit, I sound like that, you know, and it's just like a new level of self-reflection when it comes to your playing.
Yeah.
So it's like you got to deal with that too. I mean, yeah, this whole thing. I think that the moral of the story about all we're talking about is this whole thing is a mental game.
Yeah,
and you have to figure that out. And as you get older, hopefully you get better at it.
Yeah, you can't let it stop you though. We've seen this a lot with URM. We've had some members at URM who are the musician that mixes and records their own stuff, who are very, very talented, but like will do like one song per year, if that.
Yeah.
Because they need it to be perfect. Like and it's like, dude, like you need to actually just finish this and move on to the next song.
Well, it's like the painter continuing to paint and ruining the painting. You know, it's like you got to know when to stop, because that's the other thing about that is that's like a song or a recording. It's a reflection of where you are at that point in time. Yes. Like if you perpetuate that for too long, the whole meaning of the thing is gone.
Yes, exactly. And you're not going to get better doing that. Like you're never going to get that thing to be perfect. So, but I feel like that's the same mentality as like the person that's afraid to upgrade their rig because of what could go wrong live is the same mentality as the person who keeps working on the same song for 2 years and never releases anything because it's not perfect and they're afraid of what could happen. Like you have to be willing to be humiliated or to put something shitty out and just move on.
You have the fear of failure, I think, is something that inhibits a lot of people for their entire lives. And the thing is, like, you're going to fail. At some point you're going to fail, whether it be playing live, whether it be, you know, at a job. At some point you're going to fail, but if that's your biggest concern is what if I fail? You're not going to, more than likely, you're not going to live a very meaningful life. No. And I think that's another part of this is overcoming the fear of failure, or, you know, not having it in the first place, which that's easier said than done. Yeah, but I know, like, you know, you were talking about Brody earlier. He goes up on stage and he's thinking about spaghetti. He doesn't give a shit.
Man, I don't understand. And also the not warming up part is beyond me. So, okay, so, you know, we did that episode with him a few months back where he talked about not warming up, and some people got really mad. And if they're listening now, let me just tell you, you know, I just did 25 shows with Brody, and he doesn't need to warm up.
No,
no, he's not like the rest of us.
It's this. That's what it is. It's his brain. He just he's not worried. He's not worried about, you know, I'm not saying Brody doesn't have worries in his life, but I'm saying when Brody goes up on stage, or, you know, when Brody plays guitar, he's not worried. It's his headspace. He's not, in that regard, he's not a neurotic person. And he just goes up and it's time to play guitar. I'm going to play guitar. And I can't do that. The warming up,
I can't
I've heard you talk about it. I feel the same way as you feel. I have to play guitar for, you know, optimally, I'd like to play guitar for probably a half hour before I go on stage. And I warm up my voice. I got to do all that shit. So it's like, it's definitely a process. Now, when you talked about earlier how things get easier as you go on tour, you know, by the time I'm in, you know, show number 22, maybe if you have an emergency situation, you're in a small venue, you don't have a green room that's optimal, you can't warm up, you can go up and play. I could do that. But it doesn't feel great. It doesn't feel, and the first couple songs are like, man, all right, whatever. Thankfully, in our set on this Euro tour, the first 2 songs were pretty less demanding, guitar-wise. Vocally, not so much. But
I was about to say, your first song you opened with Suborbital. There's some, and actually, that's a perfect segue, because I wanted to talk about the vocal harmonies and
Sure.
doing those while playing. So first of all, Suborbital has some fantastic vocal harmonies.
Thank you.
Like they're great. And you, my friend, have a really, really awesome voice, just so you know.
I appreciate that.
So I want to talk about pulling that off while playing. How, okay, so how did you learn to do that, first of all?
So this is probably going to sound weird, but I started singing for my old band. I never sang. I think I did choir a little bit when I was a kid, but like it wasn't meaningful, and I'm pretty sure I didn't even want to be there. But I never sang. I was not a singer.
Really?
No. So I started singing in 2013.
Okay.
Yeah. I did it so that I could record the first EP that my first band did. And it was because I was looking for a character of vocal that the actual singer of the band that I was in didn't have. He had a very deep voice. He had a very for lack of a better term, he had like a Lord of the Rings voice. And I was just looking for like a clean vocalist that, I don't know. I mean, it's like when you hear like Maynard James Keenan or, guys like that, it's just like, it's their voice doing what it does. There's very little like, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like he's acting,
Yes.
It's just a voice. And that's what I wanted. So I started singing and I struggled through it. And I used to do it live without in-ears, which is crazy to me now.
That's why.
And
wild.
probably not. I mean, definitely not well for a long time. But, so I started doing it for that band and I just kept doing it over the years. And I'm at a point now where I think that vocals, like I said, I didn't do it well at first, but I do think it came a lot more naturally to me than guitar. So I have a lot more confidence in my voice than I do my guitar playing. And that's all in here, but like,
he's pointing at his head for people listening.
Yeah. Pointing at the egg. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I just kept at it. And now, the new Rivers stuff, like the new album is definitely, I don't want to make it out to be that I'm not challenged by it because it's very difficult to sing. And like you said, singing and playing, that's something that every new album I go like, holy hell, I got to do this now. There's definitely some stuff on the new album where even now I'm like, how am I going to pull that off? But I always do somehow.
Do you think how do you practice? Like, do you think about it or you just do it? Like, I know some people will think about it like they're a drummer.
Thinking about where to put the specific rhythms.
Yes. And they'll do it like basically bar by bar.
I years ago, and like, I'm admittedly not the hugest Children of Bodom guy. I think they were a great band, but I never listened to them growing up. I heard I read in a Guitar World magazine, Alexi Laiho say that he would play the guitar riffs and talk the vocals. So you just, at first you're just talking, and that's what you're describing there, is just to get the rhythm down. And I don't over intellectualize it too much, but that's the preliminary thing, is can I talk it while I play? And then I can generally work my way around that. But like the thing that you need to get to, at least in my experience, I'd be interested if other people find this the same, but like your guitar playing when you're singing, you can't be thinking about that at all, especially with the melodic vocals, because I got to be thinking about, am I hitting the right notes? And I'm not always hitting the right notes, but that's what you're thinking about. So your guitar playing has to be not even in your mind. For me. Yeah.
Which on Rivers of Nihil stuff seems quite challenging.
It's challenging. Yeah, it's challenging. I will say that like my bandmates definitely, we very much in Rivers have a mentality that's just like, I don't know how we're going to fucking do it, but we're going to do it. And it's just, no one's interested in hearing me bitch. It's just, I just have to go. I have to figure out how to do it. And you know, when you got guys like Biggs playing bass and singing like he does, Jared playing drums and singing like he does, you just got to do it. And that's, you know, that's a pretty strong motivator. That's probably the best motivator in life, is you just have to do it.
Yeah. There's no other option.
Right.
So you figure it out.
You figure it out. And, you know, I will say, like, we did House of Light for the first time on the Euro tour that we did together, that we'd never played it live before. And I can absolutely say that it still doesn't feel natural to me. So I still, when that song starts, I'm still doing a great deal of thinking. And I look forward to the day where I don't have to do that. It takes time.
As far as guitar or vocals go?
Both. That song is very much like, there's so much vocals for me over the guitar stuff that it's like a balancing act then. It's like, okay, now I'm thinking about this guitar thing. Now I'm thinking about this high note I have to hit with my voice. Now I have a guitar solo. Now here's this stupid hard riff. And it's just like the entire thing is just like, you're on a ride. But over time, you know, I'm sure you can relate to this, you know, by the time we put out our next album, I'll be doing House of Light and I won't even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
But it still feels like an obstacle now. Not an obstacle. That's too negative, but like, it feels like something that I really have to focus on very hard, more so than I want to live.
Yeah. So when you're getting ready, how long in advance of a tour will you start working on this stuff?
Oh, I mean, I'm neurotic. So I will definitely, like, I think I was practicing House of Light 9 months ago.
Okay. All right.
But the thing is, you can do it all you want at home. Then you get in the room, you get on the stage, it's totally different. You know that. But it's like, how far ahead do I rehearse these things? I like to be super well prepared for that if I can. And I think that probably stems from the trauma of learning 80 minutes of Rivers music in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I understand. Look, I understand that as much as you prepare, it all changes when you're in the room with the dudes and the in-ears, but still, it, like, all that preliminary work gets it to where you're not wondering what comes next in the song. You know what I mean? Like, yes. Or like questioning your stamina, stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's more so like that song requires so much from me vocally, and it requires I think that song probably has the highest note I've ever tried to sing live. I don't know what the note is, but
it's high.
It's high, yeah. And I've seen some videos from that tour, and it's okay, but I can definitely tell, like, I got some work to do on that. And it just comes from doing it over and over live, you know. Yeah,
the vocal health thing, like, how do you deal with not losing your voice?
Oh man, I'm a bad guy to ask about that, because like
you're a good guy because you didn't lose your voice.
No, I know, but I got really lucky. Because, you know, I drink, I smoke.
Yeah, I still want to know how, like, maybe you're just gifted genetically.
I don't know. I don't smoke a ton anymore. I used to be like a regular smoker, but I'm not that. But I will smoke a cigarette every once in a while, especially if I'm having some beers with the guys, you know. But I don't know. So we did a tour in 2023 of Europe. We toured Europe with Lorna Shore, and I definitely, on that one, I had bronchitis for like 3 weeks, and that was a nightmare, man, because there's nothing you can do. It's just like, you can't talk. I couldn't talk. And it's like, we're not on tracks. So it's like, I just did the best I could. And it was rough. But on this tour, everybody got sick. You got sick. and I didn't for some reason, and I was really thankful for that. I definitely like, I have a pretty insane vitamin regimen, regimen. So maybe that helps. Staying hydrated is super, super crucial. Doing exercise whenever you can, but that's so hard on tour. Everybody knows that. It's like, when I'm at home, I'm at the gym a lot. I go in the sauna and stuff. I think that helps a lot. But on tour, you're just kind of a slob.
You were pretty hydrated on tour. I do remember that. Like,
Yeah.
we talked about how you were trying to get, I don't remember how much you said, but
I'm trying to get a gallon a day.
Okay. So, Sean also, he like doesn't lose his voice almost ever.
Shout out to Sean, by the way. Love Sean.
Sean's great. Shout out Sean Zatorsky. But he doesn't really lose his voice much, and he goes for it live.
Yeah, he does. Yep.
And he also doesn't have some crazy, like, he's not neurotic about it either. Like,
I'm not. I don't treat my voice preciously, which I probably should. And it's something that maybe I'll have to do at some point, or will choose to do at some point. But I definitely, I warm up my voice, and it generally, knock on wood, it generally does what I need it to for the most part.
So that's one thing. You guys did have your warm up, like your vocal warm ups that you guys did religiously.
Yes.
So you definitely did not go on stage cold. So you definitely warmed up. I heard it every night, and you kept yourself as hydrated as possible. And I feel like with those types of things, people are always looking for, like, what is the supplement the person took, or like what's the what's the exact formula that this person used, like, and trying to get some like hidden, some like secret thing, or like some secret recipe. And what it comes down to is like the stuff that matters the most is the stuff that you did. Like, you slept, you drank a shitload of water, and you had a very good warm up.
Well, even that, I mean, it's like, because, there's all these like prerequisites that people talk about, for optimal vocals, and you hear people say, well, you need enough sleep, you need this, you need that. Well, like, when's the last time you got enough sleep on tour? It doesn't happen. So it's like, especially like we talked about earlier, you got a bus driver driving you off a cliff in the middle of the night, you're not going to sleep well. So it's like, you're already down.
But you slept about as much as you could.
I slept as much as, yeah, for sure. Always do. But you just, I mean, that's a mind frame too, I think, is like maybe just not thinking about what you didn't get. It's just like, I'm here, I got to do this, and I'm going to do it.
And instead of focusing on what you didn't get, focus on the things that you can do that make a big difference, like staying hydrated and warming up.
If you're hungover, if you're tired, if you're sick, generally, if you drink a shit ton of water, you'll figure it out.
Generally. Yeah. So
unless you have bronchitis.
Yeah, but you still figured it out. Yeah. All right. So one last thing I'm wondering about. I want to go back to guitar.
Sure.
Because we didn't really talk about it too much. So you started working on your upstrokes in order to do the Rivers stuff better.
Yeah.
What specifically?
So the first thing that is Wes Houck gave me an exercise that he does, and it's basically like you down pick, like just dun 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 dun, and then you do that with an upstroke.
Yep.
And then you start a group of 16ths, but because you're coming from the upstroke, your 16ths start on the upstroke.
Yep.
An upstroke. So then you're doing 16ths starting with an upstroke, and that for me is the hardest thing. But then the exercise reverses, because you're starting, then you're doing up picking and then down picking, and then your 16ths start with a downstroke. So the exercise reverses, and you just do that, And you have to be mindful of the fact that your downstrokes and upstrokes should sound pretty similar. So when Wes showed me, he was talking about how you kind of do it on like a medium gain tone, and then you can kind of hear what's going on, because obviously, high gain stuff hides a lot. So that exercise helped a lot. A thing that I will do is I will just practice upstrokes. That's pretty simple, but it works. Another thing that you can do is gallops, but you do like alternating gallops. So you do up, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's a bitch.
I do that.
Yeah, I'm still not really good at it, but it's something that I do pretty often, and I can do it fairly well compared to how I used to. I've seen some crazy guys with that stuff. It's basically the bleed thing.
It is the bleed thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's alternating gallops. Man, so basically, doing eighth notes into 16th notes, like down, then up, up, and making sure it's even, doing alternating gallops, the bleed riff, that's good. That's all good stuff.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not like, I'm admittedly not the most savvy with recording and stuff. I can bullshit my way around it if I need to. It's just not something I actually, you gave me a subscription to URM, and I intend to use that a bit. But I think the
it's
recording.
Okay if you don't.
I want to.
I'll forgive you.
No, I will. Trust me.
All right.
But Brody, like, I think a big part of the reason he sounds the way he does is because he records himself. So and I definitely
he knows exactly what he's doing wrong.
Yeah, and it's just, he's done that for so long. It's like I said, it's a pretty wild experience playing through in-ears with him, because you just hear how precise he is. And that's, like I said at the beginning, that's been my goal, is to match that, which I don't feel I've done, but maybe I will someday. And but as far as practicing the upstrokes, that's the kind of shit you do. And it's kind of boneheaded. It's you just sit with a metronome, and I'll watch bear videos on YouTube and just practice upstrokes. But the other side of it is like, or another way to do it is I just play Rivers music,
Yep.
and focus on that stuff, because a lot of it, back to the home, the riff in that, it's it's like you're accenting sixteenths on it with an upstroke. So stuff like that, Brody does that a whole lot, and that's something I had to get used to as well. Is like you're palm muting sixteenths, but you're releasing the fourth one. It's not palm muted, and you have to, with an upstroke. So you're lifting your hand and keeping consistent sixteenths.
I was talking to Raphael about this, about the difference between practicing by learning a song and playing the song versus practicing technique.
Right.
And we came to the conclusion that they're both important.
Yes.
Because in a song, generally, unless you're playing bleed or something, you're not going to work on one specific technique long enough to like really drill it. Right. But if you're working on one specific technique, you're not going through the difficulty of nailing a song start to finish, and like changing techniques, nailing transitions, like starting off a difficult technique when you have no momentum.
Yep.
So like, I think both are really important.
The song start to finish thing, that's a very real thing that you need to put work into.
Yes.
Obviously, because it's what we're doing. But I mean like you said, okay, this part's coming up and I have to do it right now, and I'm momentum's working against me, and I have to execute this thing like that. There's only one way to practice that.
Yeah.
No, and then like we talked about earlier, you can do that in your room. Then you have to do it live, where people are, spitting on you or throwing tomatoes at you or whatever the hell, and your hands feel like they weigh 200 pounds each.
Yeah. Oh. It's But if you don't have it in your room, you're probably going to have a much harder time doing it live.
For sure.
Yeah.
You got to get it in the room. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, awesome, man. I think it's a good place to end the episode. I want to wish you luck with the release of the new album, which I think is fucking sick.
Thanks,
I
man.
actually did listen to it several times.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And it's been great hanging with you. Good to see you again, man.
Likewise, man. And have a great rest of your day, and thank you.